The greatest shoreline hazard is flooding. And when we talk about flooding here, we're talking about coastline flooding and not the sort of flooding that occurs next to rivers on floodplains. This is something that's really been influenced by global climate change, and it has to do with where hurricanes occur and how powerful those hurricanes can be. So this is an image shown from space of a hurricane. And we can see that the eye of the hurricane would be in the middle here. This is a large tropical cyclone. It's a low pressure system that was formed near the equator. And then these things start to move across. For example, the Atlantic Ocean can greatly impact places on the eastern United States and are a huge hazard. Associated with these, the eye of the hurricane is in the center here, and then there's all these spiral arms that you're able to see here. And that has to do with the rotation of the hurricane, which is rotating, at least in the Atlantic Ocean, in a counterclockwise rotational thing like this. And this is important because what's happening is as this moves, let's say in this direction here, and approaches a shoreline, these arms here are pushing a lot of water out in front of them. And here things are getting pulled away in the opposite direction. So the worst place for a hurricane to hit is not for the eye of the hurricane to come right over you, but for this quadrant of the hurricane to come over an area where you're living. And this just kind of shows a graphic here about what the various risks are associated with a hurricane. There's winds, of course, associated with the hurricane. They can generate tornadoes. This one is an important one, this idea of storm surge and flooding, because on this side, on the northeast quadrant of this hurricane over in this area here, the risk of storm surge and flooding is at its highest. And once again, that's because these arms are rotating in a counterclockwise direction, and they're just pushing all of this water from the ocean ahead of them towards the land, and that can cause very large storm surges. These storm surges are much more than the numbers reported on how much sea level is rising for global climate change, which is only a few inches a decade. But in this case, you can be pushing feet of water in front of the hurricane, and it can really cause a lot of damage from the storm surge and the flooding. Also associated with global climate change, the weather is getting, or the oceans are getting warmer and warmer further to the north. So whereas in the past hurricanes used to be more common in the southern states, now hurricanes are able to go further and further north in the Atlantic and affect areas like New York City and Washington, D.C. And in fact, of course, this is well documented. What could happen with these storm surges? These storm surges could affect, this shows the area of Miami that would be affected, and Miami is probably some of the most expensive real estate in the United States. It's at the highest risk of being impacted by a hurricane. And once again, the wind can do damage, but it's really the storm surge associated with that water being pushed up out of the ocean that is the primary risk here. And of course, the way this is dealt with is that people in Miami have to buy homeowners insurance. They also have to buy insurance for wind and for flooding. And of course, that just gets more and more expensive as the hazard continues. New York City also has some areas associated with this, some other very high real estate areas, including the Upper West Side of Manhattan, the Upper East Side of Manhattan, where areas that could be impacted by these types of storms. And of course, this is something, there's a long history of hurricanes in the United States and a lot of knowledge about how the temperature of the ocean and other things are changing, and these things can be modeled. And this just kind of shows how extensive the risk of hurricane is throughout the Gulf and then the Atlantic coast. And of course, so much expensive property in these areas and so many people living in these areas that a lot of people are being put at risk because of this flooding hazard associated with hurricanes.